How does one play ranked properly? Should you best one-trick your strongest hero or rather Phil to be a good teammate? I feel like there is no other subject matter being discussed as heavily as that in the Overwatch community. And the gap in opinions is massive between players that look for a pleasant competitive experience and those who only care about ranking up as fast as possible. It seems like a never-ending war. Naturally, to many players, these things are supposed to go hand in hand. They want to have the cake and eat it. Have a fun time on ranked and rank up consistently. Getting that load of endorphins whenever they reach a new division and that satisfying feeling of getting a lot of SR for a hard-fought victory. If you were to believe anecdotal evidence, most players would be looking for the perfect balance, but that is not entirely true. Because if you dig just a little bit deeper, you'll quickly find out that players value one thing above having consistently balanced matches, and that is consistently winning. Truly, in a well-balanced system, most players would expect to sit around a 50% win rate, and that for many players is the case, but they are still not happy with that. Climbing on a 50% win rate is an exercise in frustration, and even with the magical win rate in their pocket, the matches feel nothing short of annoying a lot of times. I am convinced that most players will be absolutely fine with consistently stomping the enemies in disgustingly unbalanced matches if it meant that they can win more regularly and increase their rating faster. Now, I have talked about why a consistent gameplay experience on ladder is simply not possible in Overwatch in a couple of videos before, so that is not what I want to focus on today. Rather, I like to try and explain what is the most efficient way of getting that satisfaction of ranking up. Many players truly oversimplify the issue. They make it look like simply picking up an unpopular hero and playing nothing but that would easily get them into a high rating because they have a wrong idea of how MMR calculations work, but if that was the case, we'd see a massive influx in players in high ratings. It may feel like one-tricks are everywhere because you keep running into them in high elo, but it only feels that bad because there are so few people in that rating. But naturally, one-tricking is not solely a problem in Grandmaster, and that alone should prove to us that the issue is a bit more complicated. Because again, if all it took was playing Symmetra only, all these diamond one-tricks would be in GM. So clearly, that is not the most efficient way to go about things, but let's dive a bit deeper into the rationale behind one-tricking. Why people do that, why people think the system favors that behavior, and what it ultimately does in actuality. At one point in time, content creators flipped their pancakes over a statement coming from one of the devs highlighting one of the factors for MMR calculations incorporating comparisons to other players around your rating on the same hero. In essence, that means if you are a Platinum and your Lucio gameplay is better than that of the average Lucio in Platinum, you will be awarded more SR for your victory and lose less for any loss. Naturally, most creators connected the dots very quickly and assumed with confidence that this meant people could abuse the system simply by picking up a hero that is not very popular. If there were less people the system can compare you to, that means it's easier to stick out as a decent player on that hero, right? Needless to say that, again, that was a massive oversimplification of the entire issue. Now, disregarding the fact that I stroked my ego to the fact that this was an assumption I made of the MMR system as a whole months prior to that post going live, it wasn't news by any means. What a lot of channels ignored was that this comparative metric was something that Blizzard disclosed being a thing far in advance before that whole uproar. Of course, with the YouTubers doing very little research, if any, players around the globe started reporting that they felt the impact of one-tricking benefiting their SR in that particular season. And little did they know that this was a system that was in place since the very beginning. Call that a large-scale placebo effect. Now, obviously, I cannot sit here and deny fact in the form of numbers, and numbers are exactly what we have to consider. Think of your MMR as a math problem. The more variables you add to the formula, the more complicated it becomes to solve the problem, right? So let's say that the only thing the game has to consider was your performance on a single hero throughout your entire gameplay experience. That would be a far easier problem to solve than considering varying levels of mastery on a variety of heroes that you keep swapping to, right? And that is the basic gist of it, and I mean very basic. Your MMR is the result of fairly complicated calculations incorporating many factors. So many in fact that we can only guess most of them, since obviously we have never been told what exactly it cares about next to your performance on any given hero. But I think it doesn't take a genius to realize that this is not the only metric the game cares about. Fact of the matter states that a Symmetra or Torbjorn one-trick in Grandmaster plays like a Symmetra or Torbjorn that is supposed to be in Grandmaster. They didn't abuse the system, and claiming they did is discrediting their skill on those particular heroes. What one-tricking does is making it easier for the system to find your your true skill, the rating that you are supposed to be playing in. Players are under the impression that the only thing keeping them from being GM players are their teammates or the system itself, when in reality they simply lack the skill to perform in that rating. Because if they were good enough to play up there, then they would get into that rating eventually. You may find your true skill quicker by one-tricking, but that doesn't mean that you will be ranking up indefinitely. You will hit a hard cap if you don't keep on improving. And many players do improve consistently, which means they also rank up regularly no matter which heroes they play. If you stop ranking up, then that simply means that you stopped improving, as your rating is most heavily impacted by your own doing. Bottom line for one-tricking is that it's not a free ticket into Grandmaster, nor does it make players rank up indefinitely. One-tricking makes it easier for the system to attach a solid value to your performance, which means you find the ranking you're supposed to be playing in quicker. The reason off-meta one-tricking works so well is not because the system encourages that or because nobody's playing these characters. Playing a good off-meta comp simply throws a lot of people off. Players have trouble opposing things that they have no experience playing against. Call it benefit of surprise. If you were to go out of your way to one-trick an off-meta hero without backing it up with a certain level of skill, you will find yourself seeing one thing more than others: the defeat screen. One-tricks are amongst the worst teammates you can possibly have in Overwatch due to their unwillingness to work together with the rest of their team and their deterrence to adhere to the most basic concept of the game, which is that of adapting to any given problem in front of you by swapping to heroes that would be more beneficial. Very skilled one-tricks often develop playstyles that help them compensate for the lack of flexibility by extreme levels of proficiency on their respective heroes. Again, if you don't bring that level of skill, your win rate will suffer and you won't be ranking up at all. So is one-tricking inherently better than flex playing? Well, not really. Again, no matter how good you are on your main hero, no matter if it's an off-meta pick or not, the game has been built around the idea of swapping. If you run your face into a wall, your face will be suffering more than the wall itself. One thing I will have to agree with is that the devs seemingly did not find a good balance between encouraging flex playing and picking up your strongest hero. Players who keep flex playing usually have one big problem: a strongly fluctuating MMR. Low elo flex players suffer from this problem because they make their effectiveness dependent on the rest of their team. That simply means that if they have a good team, then they will be doing really well too, but if their team is not doing so hot, they simply lack the individual impact to turn the battle around. I really commend people who try to flex play in low elo to be a good teammate. You are, in the most literal sense, too nice for this game, because it will not reward you for doing so. Lacking individual impact in games that are more difficult often results in matches that are near impossible to win. Focusing your attention on getting really good on something you're confident on helps you pull your weight more, rather than always trying to just support the rest of your team. Of course, you can get lucky and rank up consistently by flex playing, but you will eventually feel the impact of your lack of proficiency on any given hero, which simply means that everyone around you will be that much better at their heroes than you are at anything. As with so many things in life, the best way to rank up is to find a good balance. You'd want your hero roster to look a little something like this. Always try to play your strongest heroes as often as possible to establish your highest possible MMR based on that performance. Since it's your best hero, you should have an easy time finding the rank you belong into, but stubbornly sitting on your main hero when it obviously is not working is a terrible idea. Your MMR loves one word almost as much as I do, and that is consistency. The game won't penalize you for not doing too well occasionally, and you are not always required to be amazing on any hero. What you have to understand is that only because you're a platinum player, for example, doesn't mean you have to display platinum performance on every single hero. Sometimes all it takes is a subpar Reinhardt or an average Soldier 76 to win the match. Knowing when you should swap and seeing what you should be swapping to, as also being able to tell whether or not your level of proficiency is enough to win on that hero, is a skill that will win you a lot of games. You know, YouTubers like myself often get a lot of backlash for the gameplay they use as background footage. Diamond rank players claiming they are better than the Grandmaster in question. And you know, delusional idiots aside, yes, it is possible that your Sombra gameplay is better than mine, but you know what I am better at? Telling when my skill is enough to win. I don't need to be as good on Sombra as you. All I need to be is good enough to win that particular match, and more often than not, I am. Realistically assessing your level of skill on any given hero and adapting to that knowledge in your matches is what you have to learn. The best way to do that is to record your own gameplay and take a close look at what you're doing wrong. Sometimes it's very basic mistakes that make you a worse player overall, other times it's a lack of proficiency on a particular hero, which means you have to decide between swapping to something else or practicing it more until you're good enough. I have been hitting Grandmaster on both of my accounts consistently, and that is my hard cap. The difference between a 4000 and a 4400 player is pretty big, which is why you will probably never see me anywhere near that rating. I am simply not good enough for that. And honestly, 4K might as well stop still be High Master, there's really no difference. But if you are under the impression that any of my heroes are good enough for GM other than my Zenyatta, then you are painfully mistaken. When it comes to individual performance, Zen is my only strong pick, but I can still reliably flex play to any hero on the roster to increase my chances for victory, and I'm always able to tell whether or not I am good enough to pull that off for any given match with careful consideration for what my team and the enemies are good at. If I can play a poor Sombra in High Master and keep my rating up there consistently, then why can't you? The simple answer is you can, you just have to know how. So go find out what your strongest heroes are, establish that baseline MMR, and be smart enough to tell when you should be swapping to another hero or switch with a teammate of yours who might be better at your role. But the most important thing is to never stop improving. The moment you are content with your level of skill is the day you will stop ranking up. We have been blessed with a system that is not solemnly based on our win-loss ratio that we as individual players just don't have enough of an impact on. Don't ever concede to the idea that your team is holding you back from ranking up, because those thoughts will make it that much more difficult for you to keep striving for improvement. And trust me, even up into Grandmaster, there is always something you can improve on. Absolutely. Always. But this is me done for the day. As I talk about one-tricking, is also flex playing, and how much of which is a good balance to rank up most effectively in Overwatch. If you are someone who is striving for improvement but doesn't know where to start, I will be linking a few videos down in the description below that include several tip videos. There's also one that teaches you how to effectively coach yourself and what you should be paying attention to when reviewing your own gameplay. But anyway, thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to leave me a like on your way out if you enjoyed the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I hope to see you all next time.